Welcome everyone. Today it's an unboxing of the Chaos Space Marine Forgefiend. Now, for those who don't know, the Forgefiend box also allows you to make the Maulerfiend, which is one of my favourite Chaos Space Marine demon engines. This thing is flippin' ace. Love it. So the 5-up demon save is great, like last cannons, things like that will try taking pot shots, and if you're lucky, unlike me, 5-up is still very good against heavy artillery. So the reason I love this on the table is mainly because I can imagine all those tendrils whipping out, skewing like poor innocent guardsmen, and yeah, I just love it. It seems the perfect match of machine and monster. It is the perfect demon engine. Now, I haven't made a Forgefiend yet, so I've actually got this box to make this guy, and I'm going to try to magnetize it so I can swap it out certain bits to make the Maulerfiend. Now, I know obviously the arms can be swapped out, and you know the head can be swapped. I'm not sure about the tendrils, how well they're going to do, so I'm going to need some pretty strong magnets, I think. But it is a wicked kit. I really do love it. Lots of detail. And I know it doesn't look like it. It looks a pretty basic model, but it has got lots of detail. So you probably can't see, which I'll zoom in there, is the armour has little slices, little cracks, things like that. It's not just painted on. It's brilliant. It really is. It just shows that this is a living thing. You know, it's taken scraps and scrapes, and it looks like it's bulged in a few places as the flesh is like trying to burst out underneath. So I will carry on with the actual unboxing, so I can carry on raving how much I personally like it, but you don't want to see that. What you want to see is lots and lots of bits of plastic. Yeah. And we chuck that away. So straight away, love these tendrils. I think if I ever had a Warpsmith, they might be a tad big for Warpsmith, but I love the garishness. It's like an evil Doctor Octopus. Yeah, just wicked. The guns look fantastic too. Now I wouldn't know what to do at the moment anyway. Rapid fire or a bit of heavy plasma. I generally lean towards heavy plasma purely because I like painting the glow effect. So for me it is the rule of cool. But we'll see in a minute what the sheet says for the actual weapon loadouts itself. So there's the main body itself with little hydraulic pistons, nice exhaust stacks with like screaming skulls and faces into the side of it. And you can see, like I said previously, the flesh underneath the metal, like the bulging muscles. You can see it. Looks awesome. And the base. So I like to modify my bases, so I don't like to keep them too standard. I'm getting better. So I'm not a massive fan of flat bases. I like to build it up, get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you probably noticed, things like Golden Demon have wicked fat bases. So I'm getting there. I think the better the model, the bigger the base. So a load of Chaos transfers, a bit of decals there. Yeah, fairly nice, but the one I've painted previously, I didn't put any of them on. So I am painting mine up as 40k, obviously, hence warmer 40,000 there. But I'm painting up in 30k colours for World Eaters. So whites and blues. So the destruction manual tells you all about how to build this thing. So zoom in a little bit more. So it's a fairly straightforward kit for the main part of the body. So for the Forgefiend there, got your back legs, mid legs, and the guns on the top. So it's still got 4 legs on the ground. Whereas, when you start assembling this guy, it's only got 4 legs anyway, it hasn't got the big fat arms. So the front leg is further forward where the big guns are. So I am going to have to do some witchcraft and wizardry to work out what I want to do. So I'm going to have to put those front arms on the mid hole where the tendrils are going to be, I think. And then magnetise that hole for the tendrils or the gun. It might look a bit weird, but I'll try with some blue tack first, which is always a nice little hint. Little tip, sorry. So, a bit of blue tack on plastic models. And this includes where you want the model on the base, things like that. So if you can start building it up, maybe it will fit on the base correctly. So a bit of blue tack, so it gives you a better image of what the model is going to look like when it's done, rather than sticking it all together and going, pants, I didn't want it to stay there. Or I didn't want that pose with the gun, it doesn't look right. So, blue tack. So I'm not going to go through all the foreign different languages because, funny enough, I can't speak English at the best of times anyway, so I go through just English itself. So it has a damage table. So the more wounds it suffers, the more it drops in ballistic skill, attacks, and movement. So the Maulerfiend starts off at 10 inches, goes down to 8, then 6. Forgefiend, presumably because it's got bigger weapons, it's heavier, it's not likely to want to run into combat like the Maulerfiend, because obviously the Maulerfiend is the close combat daddy, which the Forgefiend wants to sit at the back and shoot loads. Yeah, so the strength drops down on the Maulerfiend when it takes damage, whereas it's the ballistic skill drops down on the Forgefiend. There's no shooting on the Maulerfiend if you go for the tendrils. I mean, you can go for the magma cutters, so it's always hitting on 4s. It is 3 damage. I mean, there's 2 magma cutters there. I wouldn't bother. I would rather go for the Lasher tendrils, purely because each time the bearer fights, it can make 6 additional attacks with this weapon. So strength user, usually it's strength 6. So great against Space Marines, Guard, anybody like that. You're wounding on 2s, but Space Marines, you're wounding on 3s, which is still good. Still not bad. And the AP on it is 2, and it's 2 damage. So it is brilliant against Primaris, for example. So saving on 5s, 2 damage. If 1 fails, kills 1 outright, which is brilliant. I mean, you could always use the fists if you get up against something like a tank. So rather than strength 6, it's now strength 12. So that's going to go through most tanks pretty nicely. Like Lehman Russes, things like that, it's going to be wounding on 3s, which is a strong tank. So that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, against all infantry pretty much is going to be wounding on 2s if you want to go for the fists. And that's AP 3, so you ain't got much of a save there. Mostly 6 ups, flat 3 damage, which is still tasty. So if you want to go for magma cutters, you can do. I generally go for more attacks. And then if you go against something squishy, use the Lasher tendrils. Go for something heavy, go for the fists. So it's pretty universal like that. So like I was saying, it's a demon, so it has a 5-up invulnerable save, whatever way you load it out. Infernal regeneration on both loadouts, so at the start of your turn it regains 1 lost wound, which is nice. And explodes, same rule on both. If you roll a 6, it's goodbye, and poof, big mushroom cloud, and anybody within 6 inches suffers D3 mortal wounds. So that's anybody, obviously, friend or foe. So this guy's pretty nice. It's fairly basic stock. The only thing I would suggest is if you are running, let's say, Lord Discordant, can help you with the hit rolls. So he gives a +1 to demon engines, and these guys are, that's right, demon engines. So it says hit rolls, doesn't say in close combat, hit rolls. So his ballistic skill would be now 3, so it's pretty nice. And obviously it can be all in close combat, probably. So he's also going to be hitting them 3, but in close combat. So that's nice. He can actually now spend a CP and give any of the demon engines +2s to movement speed as well, which is pretty nice. I mean, this guy's not going to want to get in combat, probably. I mean, it still has demon jewels, which is okay. I mean, he still gets 4 attacks at high profile, strength 6, AP -1. It's still a Primaris killer, still 2 damage, which is pretty nice. But this guy being speed 12 is pretty nice. Speed 12 gets you pretty fast up the board, and it does allow access to a strat for 1 CP where the Maulerfiend can charge as well as advance in the same turn, which is pretty sick. So that's 12-inch movement, you roll your advance, you know, you're going to get on average 18 inches, then you can charge afterwards, which is a fair chunk of the board, especially if you're playing a game now in 9th edition with a smaller table, which is brilliant. Okay, so that's mostly about the Maulerfiend, a little bit about the Forgefiend. We'll just finish off and go into the guns of the Forgefiend. So like I said, you can get it, so he's a ballistic skill 3, which is pretty cool. You know, the ectoplasma cannon, which is the one I was eyeballing because I just think plasma looks great when you paint it. Nice and glowy, some wicked effects. Is heavy D3, strength 7, AP 3, D3 damage. So for me, anything that says D3 or D6 damage, generally, I'm going to be rolling 1s. But thankfully, in 9th edition, they have added the word blast now. So although it doesn't say it there, it now has the word blast, which means if you're shooting something that has more than 6 models in that unit, now it's a flat D3. Sorry, flat 3 rather than D3. So you don't have to roll for it, which is pretty nice. So those big units, you're going to be getting definitely max damage, which is really, really nice. Now, on the other hand, you do have access. I mean, that's 40 points for those 2 guns, which is pretty nice. You know, you can replace both of them with the exoplasma cannons. So that's 2d3, presumably, number of shots, and it's range 24. But the Hades autocannons, see, if I'm misreading that, please tell me, but it says you can equip with a pair of, and it just says cannon. So I'm presumably that means you have 2 of those, so it's 2d3 number of shots. When it goes to Hades autocannon, heavy, technically 8. I'm only saying that because it looks like a Gatling gun, and if both together have 4, it's not much of a Gatling gun, is it? That's more like 2 shots each. It's not even a heavy bolter. Okay, so that's range 36, heavy 4 each, presumably, strength 8, AP 1, 2 damage. So it's a flat 2 damage. So if you're not, you know, like the plasma here, if you're not shooting a unit which has lots of models, it's just a single target, you could roll 1 damage. Whereas this, if it didn't have the blast rule, I would say I generally go for 2 damage because I don't like rolling for like a D3 or a D6. Sometimes I would rather take the 2 damage rather than D6 because I know, you know, you spend 1 point on a reroll, you're still going to get 1 damage. It's just the way it works for me. So nothing's changed there in 9th edition. So the only thing out of these 2 that have changed that I'm aware of is the plasma cannon has blast. So it's a tough pick. 24 inches, not bad. 36 inches is a lot better. Is a lot better. I know it hasn't got the AP there, but the good news is this plasma, you know, you can't supercharge, so it won't damage yourself. But if you could, I probably would take that take their chance. I would rather get the supercharge, take it to strength 8. You know, because hitting that harder armor like a Lehman Russ, for example, that slightly harder tank, sometimes it is nice to wound on 4s, not 5s. Funny enough. But remember now, unless it's infantry or stated otherwise, anything with a heavy keyword, so any tanks, monsters, you know, this thing is a vehicle, so the heavy keyword doesn't work for it like it used to in previous editions. So it can move and still shoot at full ballistic skill. So ballistic skill 4, if it moves, it can still shoot at 4s. Whereas in the last edition, you'd be shooting on 5s. And that's a big deal, especially when you start taking those wounds. You know, when you when on the second profile, if you moved, you'll be hitting on 6s, and that's a big deal. Right, so that's the boring bit of the rules for those who don't really care too much about the rules. Don't worry, it's gone. He's thrown it away. But yes, a lovely kit. Some fantastic transfers there. Ooh. Plain boring base, which I'm sure people will add loads to. Nice bits of cork for rock and things like that. But yes, the kit is fairly basic. It's quite the big guy. It's quite chunky. But I do like the little vents. You know, the nice teeth. Things like that. The only thing I found is, as much as I love the model, painting lots of the trim, of the brass edging, things like that, it will drive you insane. So most panels have this generally brass, but you can paint it whatever you like. This edging, it will drive you insane. But that's what this boring sprue looks like, nice and grey. But here's one I prepared earlier. What I should have said was, I'm going to stick it together in the next 5 minutes and paint it up, just really quickly like. No, I've obviously spent some time on this, and that's what I've done with my Maulerfiend. So like I was saying, 30k colours, a white Maulerfiend. Thought was pretty cool. I could always add, because it's World Eaters, some blue shoulder pads at some stage. But I just wanted to see what they look like. So it's a nice some flesh tones there, some pigment on the base. Base is a little bit rocky, not too flat. And there is some runes on the base with some blood in it, of some kind of ritual. But there you go, guys. It is a fantastic model. I love this kit. And hopefully you guys will see a Forgefiend on the channel soon. So I'll magnetize it and hopefully I can swap out the pieces. But like I was saying, the tendrils come from the middle, and that's really where the arms are supposed to be. So we will see what I can do. But thank you very much for watching, guys. This one is not just an unboxing for me, it is one of my favourite models in the Chaos Space Marine range. So thank you once again for watching. Please hit that like button, and if you hit the dislike button, please tell us why so we can improve our content. Okay, catch you next time, everyone.